Hello, welcome back to Up the Villa. Delighted to be joined by Sam from Back of the Net. How you doing, mate?
Yeah, very well. Looking forward to this Sunday's game.
Big question then. I guess a silly question, but how are you feeling as a Bournemouth fan right now?
It's all right, isn't it? Yeah, we're very happy that there's context to why we're so happy, and everyone talks about it. But I'm going to repeat the same catchphrase: losing 4 out of 5 of our back line, and then replacing them, and we've replaced well. Recruitment's been good, and we've kicked on under Andoni Iraola this season with a side that has been largely sort of brand new in terms of the defensive lineup. Everyone else seems to be doing their jobs as well. And it's just really handy that some of our stars that we relied on last season have also kicked on too. So, yeah, really pleased with where we're at, considering I think Opta at the start of the season worked out that we had the second or third hardest fixtures for the first 5. To be where we are is really good. But look, we might need a reality check. We had one at Man City. We're hoping this doesn't provide another one.
I mean, you've kind of touched on your recruitment in the summer, and last season when I spoke to you the first time round, you were kind of thinking about Europe, etc., and it was sort of like an ambition of yours. And then you sell Howson, Kirkes, Zabani, who were quality last year. They were unbelievable. Most people would have looked at you and gone, okay, we think Iraola's very good coach, but that's too much. Like, how do you recover from that? But just talk to me about how you have recovered. Like, who have you recruited to replace them? Because it is a bit of like a recruitment masterclass, really, to not have any sort of real drop off straight away.
Yeah, we're fortunate to have some very astute people in certain departments at the club, and we're following the sort of Brighton blueprint that many people talk about. But now people are saying, we should be doing what Bournemouth are doing, and that's signing players young and relatively unknown. And look, we're aware that we're a selling club in a couple of seasons, or one season in Dean Howson's case, they'll have to go. But you know what? Dean Howson, of course, Real Madrid, Zabani to PSG, Kirkes to Liverpool, Kepa, albeit on loan, he went to Arsenal. That's the best advert for playing for AFC Bournemouth that our team have got right there, because you can play for us for a season or two and get a huge move to a European giant or the domestic league champions. It's superb, but we have managed to recruit really well. And the good thing about playing under Andoni Iraola is there's a set system. It's kind of like a modular style. If a player can't play, then we know that there's a player to fit in and do the job that's required. And that's what we've got with Adrien Truffert, left back, who I think is like a grown-up Milos Kirkes. He's so good, so brilliant on that left flank, really likes to get forward. And I just think he's just got a bit of more nous and maybe calmness than what Kirkes had. Kirkes having a rough ride at Liverpool so far, but it's a slightly different style of playing, of course. Also, replacing Zabani, and Howson. Howson went relatively early, and we didn't replace him until like the very end, which kind of worried AFC Bournemouth fans a little bit. A lot of fans were predicting sort of 13th, 14th this season, which is good for a club like us. So, let's be fair. But we got Bafode Diakite in from Lille, who's the right-sided centre-back. Marcus Senesi, who was... he used to be our regular left-sided centre-back, but when Dean Howson came in, he just completely elevated that. But Marcus, he was still really good, and he has now refound his form, so he's got that position locked down. We also signed Veljko Milosavljevic as well from Red Star, relative unknown, 18 years old, but an absolute beast. He's had a couple of performances to his name, and Petrovic in goal as well. So that's the back line covered. Elsewhere, if I just touch on it, we've signed Amin Adli from Leverkusen, also Ben Ganadok from Liverpool as well as Alex Jimenez, who's on a loan with a possible obligation to buy from AC Milan. So we're doing all right. We've replaced these players and upgraded a few of them, I'd say.
Yeah, I absolutely love it, and I love your story of where you've come from, and I think this is like English pyramid football at its finest, and I think it's absolutely fantastic to see the growth of your club, and not just on the pitch, sort of like training ground, stadium, etc. The ambition is huge. I guess you had ambition by keeping Semenyo, and he's now having a unbelievable season. So talk to me about what it's like watching Semenyo at the minute.
Brilliant. I mean, he's absolutely superb. We knew he was good, but he's just elevated himself. And I think he announced himself to the Premier League. I mean, he had already, because he was on many a fan's lips last season. But I think that opening game to Liverpool, whilst we lost it 4-2, the fact he scored a couple of goals, one of them bursting from the outside of his own penalty area and, just ran up the pitch. So explosive. He's so good. Now, the good / bad thing for us is that last season we knew that there was interest, and we learned our lesson after getting relatively burned from Real Madrid by, they activated Dean Howson's release clause for 50 million. We put that in his contract. We didn't know how good he was going to be. So in hindsight, we're thinking, we could have gone for 60, could have gone for 65. So we renegotiated an improved contract for Antoine, which keeps him at the club in inverted commas until 2029. But what they would have done is put in an increased release clause. I'm absolutely certain. What that'll be, I don't know. But what it means is that when a club comes in, it's going to be a lot better for AFC Bournemouth in the long run. But he's superb. He can play off the right, play off his left. You don't know which way he's going to go because he can hit the ball well with both feet as well. And he's just so strong, very direct. And a few of the goals he scored this season, not least at Fulham at home where we won 3-1. He started halfway through his half on the byline and took it around a couple of players and then netted from the most ridiculous angle. That's the kind of thing he could do. He can score all types of goals for us. So he's so pivotal to how we play. But what's good about him, even when he has an off day, he's such a decoy mentally to the opposition that they'll maybe double up on him, leaving other players to maybe get a bit of wriggle room. So, yeah, he's absolutely key to us, and he's going to be one of the hardest players to replace. But I've got to have faith in our recruitment team, right? Because they've proven me wrong so far, so why not?
Yeah, they have. Just one more thing on him. I actually felt like he played quite a lot on the right. I've seen now he's on the left. Does this vary depending on the opposition, or is there a stronger side to him, or how does it work when you're saying he's left or right?
So difficult, actually. I mean, if I was to think about it, most of his better performance, maybe off the right, playing a little bit more, but the stats might prove me wrong on that. But he seems to play one game on the left, one on the right. And it's probably depending on who he's up against. But also what you'll find is when you have a look at the average positions after the game, you'll largely see him in the middle because they're switching during the game as well, depending on maybe mixing things up a little bit. So, the guy can play anywhere. He doesn't really have a weakness. What I suppose one of his weaknesses is when he plays up front, when he's had to deputise up front, which was where he came from Bristol City as a striker, really. And we just utilised him in a different position, and he's grown from strength to strength, really. So, apart from that, he's just such a pivotal player for us. But you know what? I couldn't tell you which is his better side or better foot, which is ultimately a compliment to him.
Yeah, one guy at your club, the manager, Iraola. I've spoken to. I love it. I think he's brilliant, and he reminds me of a mini Unai Emery. It really does. Yeah. And when you were talking earlier about a player can be out and a player comes in and they can just fulfill the role, that's like one of Emery's biggest traits: the ability to move McGinn left mid, right mid, midfield, off Watkins. It doesn't really matter, and he can do this quite a lot. So, have you sort of seen a different type of football this season from last season, or is it kind of a mixture of the same of what you have been doing?
I think it is a mixture of the same, I would say. This is the same that goes across the Premier League. There's an emphasis on set pieces again. The other week we scored direct from a corner. I don't think Marcus Tavernier actually meant it, but that's what happened. That is a set piece goal. But I don't know. I haven't seen a lot that's largely different. All I've seen is just a real confidence from the lads to deploy the kind of type of football that he wants, and we're absolutely thriving under him at the moment. And players are just, they're told to go out and just express themselves, and they absolutely do that. And there's a confidence that's just reverberating within the side. And players feed off each other, and he's such a key bloke to us. And you know what? I would let Semenyo go for £5 if I knew that we could keep Andoni Iraola for the next 10 years. I really would. It doesn't matter. That's how key he is to us. But ultimately, he's going to get snapped up. We're trying to negotiate like a contract extension with him. Whether it'll happen or not, I don't know. If he does go, I don't think it'll be to a Premier League side. It'll probably be to his beloved Bilbao that he loves so dearly. And I think depending on the manager situation there, the season after next, then he might be tempted across. So maybe we might have one more season, perhaps. However, yeah, that guy is absolutely key, and he's a manager that really brings the fans together as well. We love him.
Yeah, I think he's brilliant. So we've kind of touched on Semenyo. Who's the key player then, apart from Semenyo, the one that really gets you purring quite a lot, or someone that Villa should be looking out for? Because we've mentioned you signing a lot of young players, like Krupi. I mean, where's he come from? Like, he's like bagging goals, and it's come out of nowhere, and it's crazy how you can do things like this.
What's mad about it? I mean, I think it was rumoured that West Ham put in a bid for 30 million or so for him, but what they might not have realised at the time. So Krupi was I've probably mentioned this to you before, but we're now part of this multi-club model thing. And we're at the top of that pyramid. So we've got Hibernia in there. There's Lorient. There's a club in Portugal, one in New Zealand, etc. And Krupi was banging goals in for Lorient in League 1. They got relegated. League 2 last season, he absolutely shone. Part of the deal that we had, I think we bought him for around 12 million or something like that, but then we loaned him straight back to Lorient, and then he helped him get promoted. Now they're a League 1 side again, but he's come in as a 19-year-old that, if you're a striker, like I think my colleague Tom said this, like at the end of the day, like the size of the goals don't change. And if you've got the confidence to be able to just score goals and you've got that instinctiveness, then why not give him a go? He's got a lot of attributes that I think work really well for an Andoni Iraola side. One thing I'm nervous about is maybe overcoaching him a little bit, because you just got to let him thrive doing what he's doing. And thankfully, he hasn't been told to do too much more other than put the ball in the back of the net. I think our other striker, Evan Nilsson, works really, really hard, but sometimes you sort of, you walk out of the game and you think, did he have a shot on goal today? And quite a lot of the time we're thinking, actually, no, he didn't. Whereas with Krupi, he's just banging goals in for fun, and he got a couple of shots away at the weekend, probably should have scored against Man City. So look, he's obviously huge for us, but maybe more of an impact player. So I'm wondering whether Evan Nilsson will come back in for Sunday. But there are other players as well, old-time stalwarts like David Brooks, who's been superb for us, like a new signing after the cancer diagnosis that he had a few years ago. He's come back, he's got stronger, he's got fitter, he's brilliant. But I want to give a shout out to probably Alex Scott, who we signed again from Bristol City. They must hate us because we signed Semenyo, him, Lloyd Kelly. I think he's been brilliant for us. I thought that he was maybe a little bit lightweight last season, but this season he's really gone on. He's a player that loves the ball at his feet. He's a sort of he looks like Jack Grealish. He sort of runs like Jack Grealish. Socks down, barely any shin pads, but he's so confident on the ball in that sort of number 10 position, or he can play deeper as well, just alongside Tyler Adams. He's a playmaker, spreads the ball left and right, often pops up with a goal as well, and he's been really good. And so if I was going to give a call out for other players, yes, Krupi, Scott, but also Tyler Adams as well, who's an absolute workhorse in the middle of the park. And that's an area, those three players in the kind of number 6, 8 and 10, they're absolutely huge for us.
Brilliant. So your ambition then, are you smelling Europe? Can you taste it?
There's a smell, there's a whiff, there's a pong, there's an aroma. At the moment it's a light fragrance, but I'm telling you now, I don't know, like the more we do the stuff we're doing, you'd have to think we'd be disappointed if we didn't. I think, look, I'm going to sort of scale my thoughts back a little bit and I would like an improvement. This is right now after like 10 games or whatever it is. We're a significant chunk through the season. We've had some tough games with after Villa and maybe a favourable run, but we all know the games aren't played on paper, but I feel as though we should kick on, and I would like to see us finishing 8th or above. However, the more the season goes on, I would love to see European football. I don't care what competition it is. I really don't. But just to be there for a club our size would be absolutely huge. And I'm a fan that can actually sort of, contextualize it and be like, well, I was there when we lost 5-0 to Morecambe away, and it was absolutely horrible, and, losing home to Macclesfield and stuff. So, Premier League football is a joy and it's a delight and it's a great place to be, but we've got to also live in the here and now. So let's not excuse bad performances just because we couldn't beat Bradford like 13, 14 years ago, whatever. We are a good side at the moment, and why not? Why not? So yeah, European football would be lovely. I'm not saying we will. I'd love it, but 7th or 8th would be great.
Yeah. I like to say I'm rooting for you. I am rooting for you, but like we're kind of probably competing in and around the same zone. So
which is mad. Which is a mad conversation to have. You're massive. We're not.
I can't root for you too much. But so what have you made of Villa so far this season?
Shaky start, but I think he's got it sorted. And there seems to be a togetherness with the side again. I've been actually kind of really impressed by some of the performances that I've seen. The Manchester City one, I thought that you were absolutely great in that. And they've, you know, there have been a few kind of moments in Europe where what team was it? Go Ahead Eagles or whatever, where you lost 2-1, which, you know, wasn't overly great, but yeah, you just kind of refound your spark a bit recently. And there are some players that have, you know, come to the fore, such as, you know, Buendia, I think has been like really good for you, scored a really nice goal recently as well. I'm sort of liking what I'm seeing. It's a shame because I look at our fixtures and then I see certain teams like struggling. And I think, oh, you know what, this fixture's just come at a good time. But then a few games before we're due to play, and then they start to click into action, and you see some of the movement on the pitch and some of the energy that's shown. And it's going to be a very difficult game. It is home advantage as well. But no, I've been sort of really impressed by the way that Emery's sort of managed to turn it around. Because just looking at the AVFC hashtag on Twitter, even sort of last month or so, there are a few people questioning his position, which is mad when you think about it. And look, I know if you have a quick glance at the league table, you can see like Villa in 11th place at the moment or something like that. That can change so quickly. 3 points between you and third, which is crazy. So yeah, that just underlines to keep the faith. And that guy knows what he's doing. He's the best man for the job, and I've been really impressed.
Yeah, you tell him, Sam. Right, so thoughts on the game then, finally. Not going to lie, we cost it ourselves, but that game that we played against you at Villa Park last season, where you came back and Evan Nilsson at the end, I mean, that was a tough moment for us at the time. So how are you feeling coming up against Villa at Villa Park? Because I don't think Iraola's beat Emery. I think there's been a couple of draws. We've won a few. So what are your thoughts?
I think it's going to be quite a pulsating game. Two teams that like don't really sacrifice their styles. I mean, we certainly don't. There were some arguments within the AFC Bournemouth fan base that when we played Manchester City on Sunday, we should have maybe been more defensive or whatever. But I don't know, what kind of message does that send out to your players in terms of self-belief when you're saying, actually, because we're playing this team, then you need to do something different. We won't. We'll stick to our guns. I think the Villa side isn't as quality as Manchester City. Now, that sounds crazy, given the recent sort of result. But I do think you're gettable. But I also realise how good you are, and especially at home as well. I think it's going to be sort of quite a tight game, and whoever wins it, it's only going to be by one goal, and like no team is winning 2 or 3-0. I don't think, and that's credit to ourselves as well, because defensively, I think, apart from the ridiculous high line we played at the Etihad, I think that we've been pretty good this season. But I'm expecting a really pulsating game, and one that is going to be really, really tight.
Thank you, mate. Your insight into Bournemouth is top quality, as always. A really good conversation. So, Villa fans, I know a lot of Villa fans watch your channel. Do you know that?
Yeah. You know what? Like, one thing I've sort of learned, right, is when we do a match day vlog or when we talk about it on our Second Look show, which is our kind of sit down afterwards, sometimes you've just got to admit that the better team won the game or whatever. And we can do all this, bravado, saying that we were, like it was the ref's fault, like we were out there, all this kind of stuff. Ultimately, you've got to pay compliments. And I think just being respectful in this day and age on YouTube, I know we don't get many views and clicks because it's better to be controversial, but I think we just tell it how it is quite often. And it does usually represent one of the better away days as well. So we're always complimentary about that. But yeah, there's a fair few Villa fans that watch. So yeah, we're really thankful to them for sure.
So go and check out the channel. I'll put it in the title and the description, and I'll speak to you next year, mate.
Yeah, will do.
See you later.